Hello again. I just got back from the Bijou Art Cinema. I just watched a double feature for the DisOrient Film Festival. The two films I watched were The Boogeyman, a short film adapted from a screenplay by Stephen King, so it's a screenplay adapted from another screenplay. That's always good news, right? But I'm not going to talk about that one much because I'm just going to say it doesn't hold up, it's not worth your money, not worth your time. And it's just okay. Maybe it's worth maybe like a watch because it's so stupidly over the top. It's funny, but the ending is so cliche. Been done before. Seen it. Been there, done that. Anyway, the main event though was a film called I Am a Ghost. Completely original. Maybe that isn't the best thing, considering what I just got back from seeing. As you can probably already tell, I don't like this film. The only thing scary about I Am a Ghost is the thought of sitting through it again. What is so bad about this movie? Let me start from the beginning. Let me tell you what it's about. It's about a woman. It's almost a solo show. Almost. It follows a woman named Emily going through her day-to-day life, which consists of the same exact stock footage of her going out to get groceries, of her getting out of bed, of her fixing eggs, of her eating breakfast, of her washing her face. It is the same exact stock footage. This stock footage is a majority of the movie. Arguably a majority. It definitely feels like it's a majority because of how many times you see the same thing over and over again. And there's no transitions between these things. It just goes from event 1, get up. Event 2, make breakfast. Event 3, eat breakfast. But then she does this weird thing. Every time she eats breakfast, she picks up a knife and just slowly lifts it. And it just cuts to her over the sink barfing. Or she's not barfing, but she's like, oh God. Like she just has a hangover or something. And that line doesn't fit. And I'll tell you why. That phrase, I don't believe, existed in the time period they are insinuating that she's from. They don't exactly say what time period she is from. But from what it looks like she's from colonial times, like when America was just starting. But then she picks up a picture of her family, and it looks like it was Civil War times, which gives a little more leeway because you see like electric lamps and stuff. Okay, I don't really know. Yeah, electric lamps were around the first during the first years of America. But aside the point, during one of these events in her day-to-day routine, she is going down a list of groceries, and she writes something down. Guess what she uses to write it down with? No. The correct answer would be a quill, or something of that matter. But what she uses is a modern-day ballpoint pen. Ballpoint pen. How did they miss that? They have a close-up of it. It's so clearly like from today. And she's supposed to be in the past, like way in the past. And yes, it's that distracting. And okay, I should say something. I just told one of my friends the same, like word for word. Like if you're gonna tell me if it's like it's an indie film, cut it some slack. No, I will not cut it any slack. Slack is what you give a fourth grader's painting that just won first prize at an art contest that his school was holding. Slack is not what you give a film that actually makes it to a big screen. whatever big screen, I don't care. It was good enough for this theater, which makes me think. Anyway, so we go through the day-to-day life for like 10 minutes. I'm not even joking. I didn't count, but it felt like 10. It felt like 20 minutes, but I'm pretty sure it was like 10 minutes of the same footage on a cycle or something. So we go through the same cycle of routines of her getting out of bed and doing her thing until she goes into her mother's room where she hears a voice. She hears a voice of a medium. She said the medium voice tells her she is a ghost who is haunting a poor family's home. This has already been done, but not too many times that I'm actually going to say it's cliche as well. I'm not going to say that because I can only think of like 2 other movies that have done that. That being, that was a Nicole Kidman ghost movie, I think The Visitors, and then there's Beetlejuice. And when Beetlejuice is legitimately scarier than your film, you should stop writing horror films. You really should. Anyway, she hears the medium and explains to her that they've had conversations before, even though it's the first time we, as the audience, are witnessing them talking to each other. They establish that every time Emily the ghost talks to the medium and then leaves the room abruptly, her memory is wiped of that previous conversation until the next time she's able to get a hold of her. And then she remembers everything from the past conversation. So it's really just a convenient excuse for them not to repeat the same dialogue. But thank you for making that convenient excuse. I don't know what I would have done if you went on another cycle other than actual stock footage and you dare use stock dialogue. Thank you for not doing that. Anyway, they establish that she's a ghost. Every time she leaves the room that they actually communicate in, her memory is wiped. Actually, I should clarify, her memory is wiped unless she does this thing where she passes through the medium, who is kind of like a metaphysical. She can only hear the medium, but if she actually passes through the medium, like if she stands in the same spot the medium's standing in the future, or like in the living world, that this will somehow close her off. I'm putting that's their words. And then she will be able to remember everything even after leaving the room. And the medium tells her that her job is to help the ghost find her way to heaven, or they don't use that, but it's obviously what she does. She wants them to pass on. And the ghost, but for some reason, Emily isn't passing on. And the medium's never encountered anything like this before. So Emily the ghost is actually trying to help her come up with solutions to help the family who is currently living there. We never see them, though, which would have helped a little bit, add a little more tension to it, to actually have us see some people who we might care about. But I get it, limited budget. Screw you. The ghost is coming up with like ideas, like, okay, what if I just leave the room and just walk out my front door? What if I just go walk out my front door and go anywhere but here? And the medium was like, I don't know what would happen, honestly. Which is interesting to think. It's actually kind of interesting to think about because they kind of joke about it. Like, Emily the ghost is saying, what if I just leave my house and just become one of those ladies who haunts a road or the lake or something? I'm like, oh, Lady in the Lake reference. You had that back then, didn't you? Did you? No, you didn't. It's bad. I'm sorry. I haven't even gone to the worst part. Actually, I'm actually arguing with myself. Is the ballpoint pen one of the worst parts? Yes, it is. But where was I? Right, she's trying to come up with ideas. Um, I should mention that the first time they have this conversation, they try to do the closing off thing for one time, but this time the medium tries walking to her. She freaks out for some reason. They don't ever explain why she freaks out every time the medium gets close to her, and she just bolts out the door, and then everything, everything that they just established is pointless, rendered pointless. And guess what's next? Guess what's next? More stock footage! Yay! And it goes on for another 10 minutes. As you can see, this movie kind of is driving me a little insane. And I wish to watch this from my memory. I really should have walked out of this film. There's no real good payoff here. The only reason why I stayed is because I kind of have a moral obligation to stay. I paid money, and I was praying there was going to be something salvageable about this. But no. It just wasted my time, my money. I am complaining even more without telling you why. Okay, I explained a little bit why, but you still don't know how bad this gets. Okay. She runs out on her the first time. We go through the same 10 minutes that we just established. I don't know why the director feels this necessary. We could have gotten this stock footage done in 3 minutes, and the audience would have gotten the point. I think the point was to establish atmosphere, which it kind of is doing an okay job of doing. It's kind of doing an okay job of establishing some atmosphere, even though there are like a ton of. I'm sure some historian could like point out a ton of inconsistencies with this woman's house, like her decor, like what doesn't fit. Because I'm pretty sure there are some things. I could have swore I saw a U of O pillow on her couch, but I'm probably wrong. I'm most definitely wrong, actually. It just looks like the logo, but it's probably not. Anyway, I digress. Okay, I am a ghost. Stay focused. There's this one memory she has, like this one part of her cycle, her daily cycle, of her walking by a room, holding a mop and bucket, and she just stops and literally looks like to her side. She's like, "There's a room right over here, like her bedroom. It's empty." But she hears someone say anything. She literally says anything, and she's like so robotic about this too. I can probably reenact this whole thing right here on my own webcam. It's like she just stops. Like, okay, I'm gonna go this way because this is how it was in the movie. And she just bolts. She bolts. She literally just drops the mop and bucket and bolts for the other room. Any establishing shot for any like transition for the next shot? No. It's just cuts. And I remember there are people laughing at this, like this ridiculous sequence. Like there's no rhyme or reason to the order of these events. They're just events. Okay, let me skip ahead to the next important part of this story. Um, they meet the woman, the medium. I know she has a name, but I'm just calling her the medium because it's the only defining characteristic of this character, who is so monotone. She gives Liam Neeson a run for his money. I shouldn't say that. I like Liam Neeson, but the next time she talks to her, they try developing some character with Emily the ghost. She says she hates her mother. Her mother always said she had a demon inside her. And then that's the dead giveaway. You're like, oh, she had a demon inside her. Spoilers. Like you care. You shouldn't care. You really shouldn't care. That was a spoiler. She did have a demon inside her. or how they put it, this multiple personality disorder. Uh, Honestly, I would actually believe that like from considering the time that Emily is from, the time period she's from, I would believe that they would have burned her at the stake before they would come to the conclusion that she had multiple personality disorder. Sorry, I can't pronounce that without stuttering. Um, I mean, exorcism would have been like the first thing. I would believe the first thing. I would buy that, but then again, I'm ignorant. I might be wrong. I am probably wrong, but I would buy it. I wouldn't be thinking to myself in the theater about this. I'm like, would they come to this conclusion first? Um, they come up with this because the medium's like in between these sessions she has with the ghost. She's like doing research on on her off time because apparently she has no social life. Um, because she can talk to dead people. She literally that's like one of her defining characteristics. She can talk to dead people, therefore she's a shut-in and no one wants to be around her. I'm assuming she's from the 21st century. Okay, this is a big real problem with the movie. Like, why did it have to why did Emily the ghost have to be like from colonial times? You can definitely tell from her clothing. She wears the same thing over and over again. And she even has like a head bonnet or something. It looks ridiculous on her. But sorry. Um and I felt drowl. Um but it didn't have to be that way. It really didn't. There was no purpose for it. This movie could have taken place in modern day. Like the ghost could have been from modern day. It would have had zero effect on the narrative. Zero. And actually that would have been more interesting. It would have been more interesting if it was a modern day ghost talking from a medium who's from the future. That would have been a little more fascinating than this already done story. Not done much, but already done. So take that idea, please. I am begging you. That's a good idea. Have a future medium talk to a ghost from modern day. I mean, this ghost that we currently have already talks like she's from modern day. Okay, I just went off on a tangent. I completely forgot to establish that line when she's like hovering over the sink like she had a hangover. When she's like, oh God. She's like, that line does not feel right. I don't think someone from that time period would literally say something like that. Like, take the Lord's name in vain in a kind of slangy way. She talks so much like a modern day person. I mean, at least give her an accent. She's Asian. I mean, if anything, she should have a heavy Asian accent because I don't know. I mean, it's possible she had a pretty clear American accent in the past. It's possible, but I think the more likely solution would be she's an immigrant. That would have been made a little more believable. It's the little things like that. The little things like that, the pen, the constant inconsistencies that just pull you out of the experience and just kills the atmosphere it's trying to make. It really does. But it still isn't the worst part. How long? 18 minutes. Lord. I can go on I can go for like an hour. I'm not going to torture you with that. I'm going to try and shoot for 30 here. Let me try and reestablish myself. Second time they met, they are talking about, they're trying to give her character. She hates her mother. Her mother said she had a demon in her. She does have a demon in her. And guess what? Guess what that demon is? It's a man. You wouldn't think so, but it's a man. Which actually kind of explains like this other little part where like in her day-to-day cycle where she like looks through this door and she pulls up these two people hugging and then she separates them, the man and like it's a man and a woman, and the little man piece has a penis that you like put in there. I'm like, why? I'm like, what is this establishing? And then they do establish that. I'm like, oh, that little gross tidbit was symbolism. Symbolism! And yeah, there's, oh my gosh, I can't believe I almost forgot about this line. She remembers she had a demon inside her who was a man. And they literally, I couldn't help myself but say this in the theater out loud. She says, oh my god, I feel so dirty saying this because it's, it was too easy. She says, all my life I had a man living inside of me. And the first thing I just thought of was Michael Scott saying, "That's what she said!" Oh, I shouldn't be shouting so much because I got roommates. They're probably thinking I'm insane right now. But, okay. That's what she said. They literally set themselves up for that one. I don't know how the writer missed that. He was probably, he was probably thinking that when he wrote that line. He was like, I had a man living inside me all my life. That's what she said. This writer, he doesn't know what he's doing. He really needs to proofread some of this stuff, and that's not even the funniest part, really. That's not the part that had me laughing out loud the hardest. Okay, so there's this. She establishes that she had a demon inside her, and that she can't get passed on for some reason. They can't figure out why. She keeps following herself because okay, she passes through. She passes through herself, and she passes through the medium, and like all her memories start coming back, like how she died. She believes she died because this demon, this pretty much this, she describes as a tall man with gray skin, who jumped on her back, like she fell on the ground and he jumped on her back and started stabbing her repeatedly. She says that's how she died, but then the medium tells her, "No, you killed yourself." I'm like, okay, this isn't a clever twist. You established there's a demon inside her. Suicide would be plausible, but of course you do see the demon, but that I'm not gonna. I will spoil that because I doubt you're gonna go see this. I don't. It's not gonna be replaying anywhere. I really don't see it replaying anywhere. Um, she killed herself. Uh, so the logical solution, to at least to me, would be like, if I was writing this, I would say, okay, solve the mystery behind her own death, or have her confront her other half, the demon. Have her confront this. This is what happens, but they don't ever come to this conclusion that this is what's going to save her. This is what's going to bring her to the light. They don't ever establish that, and I think they had a reason for not doing that, considering the ending. So she follows herself. Okay, okay. Sorry, I keep saying that, but I don't explain what I mean. What I mean is, once she closes, like they close off, she passes through the medium. She now has all her memories, and she can leave the room and walk amongst the house with those memories intact. But doing so, she now tries walking out the front door. She tries doing what she said she would try to do, and try living like haunting a street or something. She opens the front door. There's nothing out there. It's just blackness. And this is what reminded me of Beetlejuice, actually, which I kind of ashamed because this story is a lot like Beetlejuice, except the fact there's no Beetlejuice. She just opens the door. There's nothing. It's all blackness. It's all blackness. It's nothing. She literally says, it's like, I felt darkness before. This is not darkness. This is nothing. This is nothing. There's nothing. Literally nothing outside her front door. And the number of times I just repeated there is nothing should make you feel like, wow, he needs to stop saying this is nothing. This is how I felt during the movie when they started playing the same scenes over and over again. So that's why she can't walk out the front door. But now she is able to walk amongst the house with her memories intact. But now she's starting to see echoes of herself. Like she's literally seeing herself doing the same things over and over again. She is now witnessing the scenes that we've been watching for the last 30 minutes. And I'm like, okay, now you're starting to know how we feel, lady. And then she tries talking to the medium again, but no one's responding. And she's like starting to say, like, are you sure these memories can't, like, I can't interact with them? They can't hear anything. And that minute she says anything, like one of the echoes that passes, like one of the echoes of herself stops and just stares at her, like as if she heard her. That was the established scene of her bolting, dropping like the bucket and mop, and looking around the room like so robotically. Does it have a payoff? No. It's the last of it we hear. That's literally it. She just stops and stares at herself, literally, and herself just like a dog that's confused. But that leads to nothing. After that, she tries talking to the medium again. The medium, they start expositing the same droll they just told us. Finally, when something happens, she decides to go upstairs to the attic, which is the one room she refused to go to. They explain it's because her mother always threatened to put her up there, even though she's never been up there. It was an empty threat. But she was always afraid to go up there. But when she finally does, she walks up. It's like a spiral staircase. That's actually kind of a nice decor. I kind of like the spiral staircase. It kind of adds a little bit to the atmosphere. Anyway, she walks up the spiral staircase, looks into the attic. There is nothing but a light shining through a window. My first thought would be, hey, it's the light you need to go to. Go towards it. She shuts the door and runs downstairs because she's too afraid. She's too afraid. I'm like, oh, you're already dead. Yeah, that's kind of a problem. What are you afraid of? The truth? You already know the truth. You can't die. Like, she's afraid, but she's a ghost. She can't die again. It's so stupid. It's so stupid. But after that, she runs downstairs. She's like sitting at the bottom of the spiral staircase. You kind of hear those groaning, which you do hear throughout the film. But it's the gray dude. It's the tall gray dude, the demon, who has like blank eyes. It's not he doesn't even have eye sockets. It's just black. Like the black blotch is where his eyes should be, which is, I would say, kind of effective, but not really. But here's the kicker. He is buck ass naked. Buck naked. And we see this naked, scrawny ass dude chasing her through the house. And he's got this stupid scream. He's like, if you ever seen the movie, like the movie Body Snatchers, like the Invasion of the Body Snatchers remake, where the one where they actually point and scream like whenever they see someone who's not a body snatcher. That's the sound he makes. It's this. It's just the imagery. This movie, like, it's like I'm trying to imagine what the writer actually had to write on script for this scenery to take place. He said it like I'm imagining him writing, and when she looks up the spiral staircase, she sees a tall, gray, naked man screaming like a banshee. I'm sorry. That's probably better than what was actually written, but and he has these blank eyes, like someone literally just painted black over his eyes. I mean, it looked really cheap. And he chases her through the house. She falls into her mother's bedroom. It leads to her in her mother's bedroom where she died. and you see the guy leap on her back and just start stabbing. He literally just pulls his knife out of his butt and just starts stabbing her in the back. I'm like, where'd you get the knife? And the way he runs, he runs like he runs like an animal, but I guess it's the idea. But it looks silly. He's like, I was laughing so hard. It looks so stupid, but and he starts stabbing her, but then you see her spirit kind of walk away, but her body's still there getting stabbed. So now you're starting to see her as a ghost witnessing herself being stabbed by the guy who's all gray. And it's hilarious because then the gray guy, the same thing happens to the gray dude, and he starts walking up, and he's not seeing the same thing she is, because they establish that they're both the same. But which I kind of think is stupid, because it's either a multiple personality disorder or a demon. If it's a demon, this doesn't make sense. But if it's multiple personality disorder, kind of does, because if she's like a different personality, that personality will have different memories than the other one, which makes sense. But it's so weird that it's a guy, and it's so obviously like a demon type guy. Like they want to make him a demon. You know what? He looks like one of those guys from Quarantine, like one of those rabid people. But anyway, it's like the dude starts stepping back. He's like, look, and you see everything like down there. He's buck naked. You see everything, and I'm just like looking. I paid $6 to see this. Oh Lord, what am I doing with my life? You know, if I'm saying to myself, I'd rather be watching Sharktopus, stop making movies. Oh. So he steps back. You see everything, and I'm just like kind of trying to avert my eyes because this is so disgusting. And no, it's not the stabbing that's disgusting, which is what should be disgusting to me. I'm too distracted by frontal sausage dude. But it's and it's like the blackness starts coming off of his eyes. You like see an actual eyes, like he's an actual person now. Again, sort of makes sense, but but what he's seeing isn't himself stabbing her. He's seeing her stabbing herself. And this is what made me laugh out loud, because this actress is so robotic. I should be horrified by this. This is a suicide, but it's not working. I'm laughing at this because it just looks like... And they have this music, and it looks so ridiculous. Oh, I'm actually might kind of like this movie, just out of like if it's a comedy. It's obviously not a comedy. It's not trying to be, but it doesn't work as a comedy either. But it's amusing. I actually kind of might like this movie, but it does make me laugh harder than most comedies. That's the truth. That's a very true statement. Oh, and guess what? That's how it ends. It ends with both of them staring at the murder scene, and you hear the medium saying, "Walk towards the light, walk towards the light," and there's no light because the room starts going dark, and I don't really know why. I don't, but she's like repeating to herself, "I'm a ghost, I am a ghost, I'm a ghost." Why? What is this supposed to mean? Why? There's just so many times where I'm just looking at the screen like, what is the purpose? And that should be the thought. That should be the one thing a director is consistently thinking of while he's making his movie. What is the purpose? You should always have that in mind. And that's usually what happens in the editing room too. Like they take out things that they find pointless. Like it takes away from the film as a whole. Like that's why the Lord of the Rings movies have so much extra footage in the extended editions, because they took out a lot that which was in the books, but it it took away from the film. As a movie, as like a theatrical movie, they wanted to make it paced right. This movie's pacing is terrible. Like I said, a majority of it is the same footage of her walking around doing nothing, and it just ends with that. And it ends with those two just staring like dumbfounded, like, "Oh my gosh, this happened! I knew it happened, but I'm still surprised for some reason." Ah. Ugh. I mean, at least the Boogeyman, the short that was shown before this movie, was a short, you know, and that was still kind of funny because of how terrible the main actor was. And no, I've seen high school students act circles around this guy. Ugh. All right, I'm done. That's how the movie ends. It ended so abruptly and stupid. I'm going to do the same about this video. I'm going to end it abruptly and stupidly. Thank you for listening. Don't see this movie. Find something better to do with your time. Cheers.